Hi, I'm Manasvi.
And I'm Gijs.
We're MBA candidates at INSEAD Business School in France. Today, we'd like to talk to you about the FinTech scene in the Baltic states. Last summer, we visited Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania for over 4 weeks to talk to entrepreneurs, VCs, and policymakers to get a deeper understanding of the booming startup scene in this region. But what is our motivation, you might think? We're both very interested in FinTech entrepreneurship and in understanding what factors contribute to the success of startups. At INSEAD, we focus on how business can be used as a force for good. In the Baltics, we want to see how entrepreneurs are using technology to disrupt the financial world and positively impact society. And that brought us to the objective of our tour, FinTech as a force for good. But I have to admit, touring the Baltics was certainly an interesting choice.
It definitely turned to be a very interesting scene. However, you might be wondering, why the Baltic states? Despite having only 6 million inhabitants and capitalism having been introduced only 30 years ago, this region has one of the highest numbers of unicorns per capita in Europe. In fact, Estonia already has 7 unicorns, including Skype, Bolt, Wise, and Pipedrive.
But ultimately, the key driver of this booming ecosystem is the vision and spirit of the founders in the Baltics. To give you a sense of this hustling spirit, we'd like to present a few of the startups that we met who are disrupting the financial industry while also building a sustainable and equitable future for everyone. One of the first people we met in Estonia was Marek Unt, Chief Marketing Officer at Grundfin, a startup built on the vision of enabling customers to build their own sustainable portfolio and invest based on their values. With a focus on transparency and sustainability, Grundfin is targeting a growing section of households that are looking to make investments that are aligned with their values. By making sustainable investing easy for everyone, Grundfin hopes to unlock the power of capital to build a better and greener future.
Speaking of sustainable investments, we also met with Justas Kavikas, CEO and founder of Foros, a Vilnius-based startup that is building a global platform for green investments. Justas talked to us about his bold vision to build a Nasdaq for forests that would offer global investors both a stable asset and the means to offset their carbon footprint. With the rise of value-based investing, it would not be very surprising, in fact, if the next Baltic unicorn was one focused on sustainable investing. Speaking of unicorns, it was very interesting to see that Wise IPO'd in the very week we landed in Tallinn.
Yes, and that reminds me of Taavi Tamkavi, the founder of Salve, who we met for a coffee and who was in fact among the first 200 employees at Wise. Taavi spoke to us about his startup Salve, which he founded with the mission to fight international money laundering. Having spent years leading the fraud and KYC divisions at Wise and Skype, Taavi decided to put his years of experience to build an AML startup on the principle of collaboration across institutions, across national borders and legal jurisdictions, to assemble the necessary intelligence to put an end to criminal activities that are funded by money laundering, and 99% of which manage to elude the existing legal and compliance frameworks.
Another entrepreneur looking to make a positive impact with his startup was Kalle Palling, co-founder and COO of Cachet, an Estonian startup that develops smart insurance solutions for gig economy products, such as ride-hailing. In the context of this booming sector, Cachet's insurance products solve a critical problem for gig economy workers that ordinary insurance products often do not solve.
Speaking to founders and venture capitalists gave us an understanding of the vision and drive propelling the private sector in the Baltics. But to get a comprehensive view of the region's startup scene, we wanted to speak with everyone involved with startups, including startup organizations, policymakers, and even the central bank.
Exactly. A lot of the growth in the region has been supported by the government's vision and facilitated by local startup organizations. This vision has also found strong support in the broader venture capital industry as well, which can be seen from the fact that the total venture capital invested in the country rose from $2.2 billion in 2007 to over $40 billion in 2019. To understand this side of the startup scene, we spoke with Andres Soet, the Estonian Minister of Entrepreneurship and Information Technology, who told us about how keeping alive the entrepreneurial spirit of risk-taking and having a global mindset will be crucial to the success of startups in the decades to come. Furthermore, we had an interesting conversation with Sander Selave from Startup Estonia. He told us about their mission to push the contribution of local startups to Estonia's GDP from roughly 3% now to 20% by 2030.
Another interesting conversation we had was with Marius Jurgelis, board member of the Bank of Lithuania, who explained to us how the Lithuanian Central Bank pioneered the way for the use of a sandbox for fintech innovations, and how this practice is now being replicated across EU to enable the disruption we are seeing in the fintech space.
Towards the end of our track, we had a deeper understanding of which factors allowed the Baltic states to thrive. A close-knit system of entrepreneurs, angels, VCs, accelerators, and forward-thinking policymakers definitely enabled this. Furthermore, the big success stories that took place in the Baltics formed a snowball effect throughout the region. Many of the entrepreneurs we talked to were former employees of Skype, Wise, or Pipedrive, and were therefore very well positioned to build a successful startup.
I completely agree. And something unique about the Baltics that we noticed in our conversations was this deep sense of pride and responsibility in building the prosperity for all sections of the society and finding success in sustainable progress that impacts every corner of the Baltics. And that was perhaps our biggest learning from the tour. That a purposeful focus to disrupt the financial world combined with a commitment to sustainable and equitable progress can lead to immense prosperity and loads of successful startups. This was Manasvi and Gijs. Thank you so much for your time.